Georgia and Tennessee. I think this is a great matchup. Now, I think Georgia's the better team, and it's not really even close. Tennessee had a convincing win over a bad Missouri team. But again, the game was never in doubt. They pretty much owned the game from start to finish. It was never even a contest. The problem is Georgia, in my opinion, has by far the best defense in the country. And I think by the look on your face, you look like you agree with me.
It about looks like it.
Jarrett Garantano is very... All right, so he hasn't turned the ball over this year, I don't think. That's one plus. But his stat line is like 190 yards, 200 yards from week in to week out, 1 touchdown, no picks, which is great. But that's not exactly lighting the world on fire. And if you're putting up those numbers against average defenses, what are you going to put up against a Georgia defense? This is a big problem for Tennessee. Tennessee can run the football. They've shown that. And they play really, obviously their offensive line's elite. And they can play really good defense. I think to beat a team like Georgia, though, as good as that defense is, you have to have a guy that can score a lot of points through the air. And they don't appear to have that.
Georgia completely shut down Auburn, and Auburn is not going to sell us as a great offense the rest of the season. But Auburn's one of these teams that has top 10 or 15 talent on offense, but it just doesn't, it's kind of dysfunctional. Bo Nix is still developing, but still, they're not going to go out and have any issue scoring a lot more than 6 points against anybody, including Alabama. They're going to be scoring in the 20s against good teams and in the 40s against the bad teams in the SEC, if there are any of those. So what Georgia did to Auburn was completely dominate the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball and ring up about 450 yards, playing a very conventional offense, you know, just turn around.
They're playing the Georgia offense. That's how Georgia
it looked like the Georgia offense.
Yeah.
And Stetson Bennett looks like Jake Fromm. And I'm not saying that I'm not dissing either one of them by making that statement, but I'm also saying he's not dynamic. But maybe Georgia doesn't need a dynamic quarterback with the running game, the weapons on the outside, and the defense. But Stetson Bennett is going to play Jake Fromm. He's going to not make mistakes. He's making the right decisions. He's throwing the ball on time, and he's throwing it on the receiver. He looks good, but he's not
look good.
A transcendent quarterback.
No. The question is, this is nothing new for Georgia. So what's the word on JT Daniels here? Right? Because it's hard to bench Bennett if he's winning you games, right? So where are we going with this quarterback situation here? I think that from what I know, and Kirby Smart doesn't say a lot, I think he's high on JT Daniels and he wants that to be his number one guy. But again, Stetson Bennett's out there getting it done, not turning the ball over, winning games, running the offense proficiently, whether it's not flashy, but it's proficient. What do you do?
He's doing as much with it as you can in his position. Now, if he would have thrown 2 picks and gone 9 for 20, they still would have won that game by 2 scores.
Right.
But there would have been justification for pulling him and saying, okay, he's having some issues. He's not having issues. He's not setting the world on fire, but he's not been given that kind of rope, and they don't need to give him that kind of rope. And they can go out against Tennessee, and Tennessee's probably not as good as Auburn. They're probably in that same range. And so Tennessee's definitely taken strides, because for them to have notched a win on the road in the SEC against South Carolina, come back, beat Missouri handily, not struggle and screw around and win 24-21, that's definitely an upgrade from what Tennessee's done for the last 12 or 13 years. But are they ready for Georgia? Probably not. Are they going to make it a game? We shall see. I believe that they're going to make it a game for most of the way. And the style of play that Georgia is going to fall into is going to help them stay in the game.
I see a Tennessee having a hard time scoring.
Yeah.
In this game. The line's 13.5. I'll have to think about that a little bit more. I don't know. The over-under, I think, is really low because they don't expect either one of these teams to be scoring 40s in the 40s. So anyway, I'm picking Georgia to win this game simply based on that they clearly have so far this year the most dominant defense in the country. It's really Georgia defensively, and then everybody else. I mean, even Alabama's defense is great, but it doesn't look as dominant as Georgia's does.
Until Ohio State steps on the field, and we'll see and be able to judge them. Yeah, but based on the teams that we've seen, I was making the same comments in the last couple of days. So I'm right there with you that Georgia, shoot, I've got them ranked number 1.
Yeah.
Do I think they're the best team in the country? No, there's a difference between that. So
I can't wait to see Georgia. I can't wait to see Georgia and Florida play, because that's going to be a high flying offense with a great quarterback. And Trask he's great. He's playing great this year against a dominant defense. That'll be must watch TV. But I think Georgia comes out on top this week, and